Viewer from Lind wants us to talk about the FEMA flood insurance program. He's wondering whether the legislators plan to be working on that. This viewer has a specific problem in that land is covered, house is not, but generally FEMA flood insurance.
So what is covered?
Well, this viewer is indicating that in their situation, the land was covered, but the house was not covered for flood insurance. But I think the question is more generally, is there anything happening with FEMA issues?
Yeah, we've been in the process of making reforms to the flood insurance system, and we're getting a lot of backlash because we've been moving to make people pay what it actually costs. And people don't like it. And there's been a lot of backlash against just moving even part of the way to making people pay what it costs, to actually provide that insurance. And so we are trying to reform that. We have rebuilt houses 4 times in the same place on the coast, And, we got to quit doing that, Up in Fargo-Moorhead, they've got this controversy over the diversion that has to do with flood insurance, for the south part of Fargo. And the developer is saying they can't develop the land because of flood insurance. So, I mean, it's a big issue. And we've made some progress, but we're still subsidizing that way more than what it costs us way more than what we're getting out of it,
And what I would say, for me, FEMA and flood insurance,
right?
For me, FEMA and flood insurance are 2 separate things. FEMA is an organization that it gets its funding and it goes in and it does its work, which is always behind, and there are a lot of complaints. There need to be reforms. The flooding down in Louisiana a few years ago that was so horrible. The community block grants, the idea was you give the money to the community and it's more closely connected to the community. The problem was it disappeared. Nobody knew what happened to it, so there wasn't a lot of accountability for it. So there are reforms you got to do in FEMA. But the one that Collin's talking about, it's the committee that I sit on. And last year, Sean Duffy from Wisconsin, our neighbor, had the flood insurance reform. Maxine Waters, who's the new chairman, has nothing to do with it. And I'm not sure why, because she should agree with this. The idea was we have to have more people buying private insurance, because you'll find that the people that are getting the maximum benefit are usually very affluent people who own very beautiful properties on ocean fronts and
subject to hurricane and
exactly
floods. Right.
And this is the fight. It's like, why are you subsidizing someone who should be able to afford private insurance when it doesn't make sense?
But if you've been through a flood, and I've been through a number of them, it is hard to go to and look at those homeowners in the eye,
right,
that have got water up to the 2nd floor of their house and they don't have flood insurance.
Actually, I was in, there was a 100-year flood in Louisiana last year, and I went with Garrett Graves down. I know exactly what you're talking about.
But one thing that FEMA does have something to do with this, because they go in and decide what the 100-year floodplain is.
Right.
And they have gone into some of these communities and screwed it up. Like in Breckenridge, we built a diversion. We've protected that town from flooding, but FEMA, because they screwed up, have not given us credit for that, and they're making people buy flood insurance that have no exposure.
So
it's crazy.
So I forget the name of the system, but it's a GPS generated system that we have and I don't believe it got through last year, but we'll keep pushing it, a pilot program, because when they set that 100-year floodplain, they do it regardless of what the topography is across the entire county, right? And this GPS manufactured thing can do the slicing and dicing to show you where properties are.
LiDAR, probably.
That's exactly. Thank you, LiDAR.